What if the person you dismissed as invisible every day held the power to dismantle everything you've built? At Greenwood and Associates, a prestigious consulting firm nestled among San Francisco's soaring glass towers, the executives in their immaculate suits strode with unwavering confidence, while the cleaning staff, like Ella Turner, moved silently through the corridors, unseen and unacknowledged by those who held the reins of power. Unbeknownst to the high flyers at the top, a reckoning was quietly underway. A reckoning that would soon reveal the high cost of underestimating those deemed insignificant. In the heart of San Francisco, surrounded by the gleam of success and the reflective facades of modern skyscrapers, Greenwood and Associates had long been celebrated for its prowess in helping tech companies scale and secure lucrative deals. The firm attracted the brightest minds in the industry, a magnet for talent and ambition. Yet behind the polished boardrooms and the carefully orchestrated meetings, there was another world. One occupied by employees whose names were rarely uttered, whose contributions were considered mere background noise. Among these unsung heroes was Ella Turner, a woman who had recently taken up a job as a janitor. Dressed in the standard navy blue uniform, her hair neatly pulled back and her cleaning tools clutched like a quiet arsenal, Ella blended into the daily rhythm of the office, her presence almost invisible to the management she had once helped create. For years, Ella had quietly toiled away, sweeping floors and emptying wastebaskets in the corridors of Greenwood and Associates. No one gave a second glance to the humble figure in the background, and in the eyes of those at the top, she was nothing more than a cog in the machine. Yet Ella's story was far more complex than anyone could have guessed. Many years ago, when the firm was still emerging from obscurity, Ella had been its founder and majority shareholder. Circumstances had forced her to step back from the daily operations, handing over the reins to her cousin, Luke Turner, who had risen to become the firm's CEO. Personal health challenges had necessitated her retreat, and for years, she observed the unfolding of her creation from the sidelines. Now, driven by an unyielding need to see if her company still upheld the values it was built upon, Ella had returned, not as a visible leader, but as a silent witness, determined to uncover the truth about the culture that now reigned within Greenwood's walls. Every morning, Ella arrived well before the first stirrings of office chatter, slipping into the building with quiet determination. As she mopped the floors and tidied up spaces that had long been neglected, her eyes roamed the expansive corridors and high-rise conference rooms that stood in stark contrast to her modest cleaning cart. But her focus was never on the gleaming surfaces or the pristine order of the environment. Instead, she was watching the people who traversed those halls. Her gaze often fell upon Liam Carter, the firm's CEO, a man whose every step exuded arrogance and entitlement. Tall, impeccably dressed, and radiating a sense of superiority, Liam treated everyone beneath him with barely concealed disdain. Whether it was a junior consultant, a receptionist, or someone like Ella, he made it abundantly clear that in his eyes, they were all beneath him. Then there was Monica Hayes, the chief strategy officer, whose smug attitude and dismissive remarks towards the support staff only deepened the chasm between the upper echelons of management and those who toiled in the background. It was during one of her routine rounds that Ella's ears caught a conversation that would forever alter the course of her silent vigil. As she swept the hallway outside Monica's office, she overheard Monica speaking in hushed, contemptuous tones to Liam. "I don't know how much longer we can afford to keep the janitorial staff around," Monica sneered. "They don't even clean the offices properly. It's downright embarrassing for a firm of our caliber." Liam's low chuckle in response, "They're lucky to have a job. It's not as if they could do anything else anyway. We can always replace them," cut through Ella like a cold blade. In that moment, the stark reality of how far the company had strayed from its founding principles hit her hard. The company she had built with unwavering determination had fallen prey to a culture of disregard, where those who formed its very foundation were treated as disposable. Day by day, Ella's quiet observations grew into a simmering frustration. It wasn't only the dismissive behavior of Liam Carter that pained her. It was the way he dehumanized every employee below him. He belittled junior consultants, cast blame without mercy, and cultivated an atmosphere of fear and intimidation. Yet the cruelty that stung her most was the personal attention he directed at her. At first, she tried to brush off his overtly demeaning glances and offhand comments, attributing them to the thoughtlessness of a man unaccustomed to interacting with those he considered beneath him. But as the days passed, Liam's behavior escalated from mere disregard to overt harassment. One ordinary morning, as Ella methodically cleaned the floor outside Liam's office, he suddenly stopped in his tracks, with a smile that dripped with arrogance. He leaned in closer than was appropriate and pointed at a spot on the freshly cleaned floor. "Hey Ella," he said in a tone that mixed patronizing familiarity with a twisted kind of compliment. "You know, you could always clean this place a little better. Especially when you're around someone as attractive as you." Shock rippled through Ella as his words took on a sinister edge. It wasn't just an insult about her work. It was a personal remark that invaded the boundaries of decency. For a moment, she felt a surge of anger, mingled with humiliation, but she forced herself to maintain a composed facade. "I'm sorry, Liam. I'll check it again," she replied softly, her voice betraying none of the inner turmoil. But Liam wasn't finished. His eyes lingered on her with a look that verged on predatory, and as he stepped even closer, his tone dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "Someone as pretty as you shouldn't be stuck cleaning floors," he murmured, his words laden with both promise and threat. "I could get you a better position here. A role that really suits your talents, if you're willing to be a bit more cooperative." The implication was as clear as it was repugnant, and Ella's heart pounded with a mix of fear and revulsion. Every fiber of her being screamed that this was abuse of power, a violation of the very principles she held dear. Yet she knew that any overt confrontation would only jeopardize the position she had fought so hard to reclaim for herself and for those who had been silenced for too long. For days, Ella endured the unwelcome advances, each encounter deepening the stain of humiliation on her soul. Liam's inappropriate comments became more brazen, and the feeling of powerlessness coiled around her like a tightening noose. Then, one evening, as she was leaving after a long day of cleaning the executive floors, Liam cornered her in the dimly lit parking garage. The air was heavy with unspoken tension as he blocked her path, his demeanor shifting from casual indifference to something darkly menacing. "Ella," he began, his voice low and dangerously smooth, "you've been working so hard lately. I've been thinking, maybe you deserve something more than just this cleaning job. There's a place for you here, if you just learn to cooperate a little." His words were a mixture of flattery and threat, hinting at opportunities that came with hidden strings attached. With his breath hot on her neck and his presence overwhelming, he continued, "If you don't play along, you won't have a job here for long. No one else will give you a chance with your lack of experience." In that charged moment, something within Ella broke free. The humiliation and anger that had long been suppressed surged forth, and with a calm but resolute tone, she looked him squarely in the eyes and said, "Liam, if you keep this up, you'll regret it." Her voice was steady, imbued with a quiet power that belied the vulnerability of her position. For the first time, she refused to be the silent victim. Liam's confident facade faltered for a heartbeat as he registered her defiance. "What are you saying?" he demanded, his voice now tinged with uncertainty. "You're just a janitor." But Ella had a secret that none of them could ever have anticipated. The next morning, when she walked into the office, she did so not as the invisible cleaning staff, but as the true force behind Greenwood and Associates. dressed in a tailored suit that echoed the confidence of the executives she had long observed, her hair perfectly styled. She moved through the lobby with an air of undeniable authority. The same employees who had once barely glanced at her now stared in awe, their eyes wide with disbelief. In the boardroom, where Liam and Monica had been preparing for a meeting, the atmosphere turned electric when Ella stepped forward and stood beside her cousin Luke, the true CEO in all but name. "This is Ella Turner," Luke announced proudly, his voice echoing through the stunned silence. "The founder and majority shareholder of Greenwood and Associates." For a moment, the room was completely still. Liam's face drained of color as he scrambled to comprehend the revelation. "This can't be. You're the janitor? Are you telling me you've been working undercover all this time?" He stammered, his once commanding presence crumbling into disbelief. With unwavering calm, Ella met his gaze and declared, "Yes, Liam, I have been among you, observing this company and its corruption firsthand. I built this firm with blood, sweat, and a commitment to integrity, and I will not stand by while you and others abuse the power entrusted to you." Her words cut through the silence like a sharpened blade. "You have harassed me, demeaned the very employees who form the backbone of this organization, and compromised the values upon which Greenwood and Associates was founded." Anger flared in Liam's eyes as he attempted to retort, but his words faltered, replaced by a growing panic. "You can't do this. I'm the CEO here." He stuttered, but Ella silenced him with a steely glance. "Effective immediately, you are fired," she declared, her voice resolute. "Not only that, legal action will follow for your abuse of power." In that moment, the room erupted in a mix of shock and quiet vindication. Several board members who had tacitly supported the toxic culture were dismissed on the spot, their futures now as uncertain as Liam's. Standing before the stunned management team, Ella's voice rang out with unwavering clarity. "Greenwood and Associates will now be a company built on respect, innovation, and integrity. For those of you who have acted with decency, your jobs are secure. But for those who have contributed to this toxic culture, there will be consequences." The shift was palpable. The employees who had once overlooked her now looked up to her, their eyes filled with a newfound respect for the woman who had reclaimed not only her rightful place but also the soul of the company. As security escorted the disgraced executives out of the building, Ella addressed the remaining staff, her tone soft yet resolute. She spoke of rebuilding the company from the ground up, of restoring the values that had been lost to greed and arrogance. "I built this firm on the principles of hard work, respect, and fairness," she reminded them. "Today, we begin anew. A place where power is not abused, and where every individual is valued." In the weeks that followed, the transformation at Greenwood and Associates was nothing short of remarkable. The toxic environment that had once dominated the office gave way to a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Employees from every level found their voices, and the company began to flourish under the leadership of someone who truly understood the importance of integrity. Sitting in her new office with a panoramic view of San Francisco's skyline, Ella reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. It had been a long and arduous road, a path paved with humiliation, pain, and hard-won lessons. But now, as she looked out at the city that never slept, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Her phone buzzed with a message from Luke. "We're in this together, Ella. Let's rebuild." A small smile graced her lips as she replied, knowing that the future was not about personal gain, but about creating a legacy rooted in respect and fairness. In a final moment of reflection, Ella mused softly, "Karma always finds its way back." Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed the narrative and the journey of transformation at Greenwood and Associates, don't hesitate to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories that reveal the hidden truths behind everyday lives. And remember, sometimes the most underestimated person can change everything.